I hope you guys tried working with secant, cosecant and cot. If not, let's see how to work with that. Right, so y is equal to secant x is what I have. How do we generally differentiate this? That is dy by dx is secant x into tan x into d by dx of x. We don't write this part because it cancels up to 1. That is secant x tan x into 1. It goes like secant x into tan x, and that's it. All right, so that is dy by dx of secant x, correct? Now if I would not take x here, and let's say I take another function that is secant of a function, okay, that's where the chain rule comes. All right, now there's another function inside. I'll just take bracket this time. So what happens to this? Dy by dx would be what? Would be secant of that bracket into tan of the same function, whatever it is, into d by dx of whatever the function was inside. See, look at this. If x was there, if x is here, x comes here, x comes here, x comes here, that becomes dx by dx, which is what I know, right? Now, if not this, if there's something else, let's say y is equal to secant of, and this time let's say we can take root of x. All right, so what happens now? Look at this. It goes like secant in the function d by, all right, into tan whatever function into d by dx of that function, according to this also, correct? Now what is inside here is root x, the root x and the root x and root x. Now this doesn't have any differentiation sign. That is secant root x tan root x into, how do you differentiate this guy? That is 1 by 2 root x. Okay, that's how we open the chain in secant. Okay, whatever is inside, it has to come all these places. Let's take another problem. Let's say I have y is equal to secant of let's say tan x. Okay, who is inside secant is tan. So if it was only x, if it was secant x, it opened like this, secant x tan x into dx by dx, right? So x comes here, x comes here, x comes here. So in this case, x comes here, x comes here, x comes here, and here. In this case, who's inside? Is tan x. So it goes like secant whatever function tan whatever function into d by dx of whatever this function is. So this guy is tan. So write tan x. Here also write tan x. And here I write tan x. So what happens? So there is no differentiation sign here. That is secant tan x into tan of tan x into differentiation of tan x is secant squared x, and that's all about. Very simple. All right, so let's continue doing it with cosecant x and cot x. Let's see how it works. Now let's work with cosecant x and see how it works. I want you guys to try it yourself. It's more easy. All right, if you do it yourself, it's nice. You can remember this for a longer time. If not, let's see how it works. If I have to differentiate cosecant x, it goes like dy by dx is basically cosecant x into cot x, okay, into d by dx of x, and there's a negative sign here. That's the formula, right? Now let's go ahead. I can see that dy by dx would be equal to minus of cosecant x into cot x into this guy would be 1. So that's what we know. That is minus cosecant x into cot x. So can I write the more general formula which we have developed this time? This you don't find in books or anywhere else. Okay, this is simple techniques what Open Minds have developed for you guys. Let's say y is equal to cosecant a bracket, okay, a function, something else. All right, so how do you differentiate cosecant? It goes like cosecant into cot that bracket into differentiation of that bracket. Okay, now that's what it is. Now if at all I take y is equal to cosecant, and there's a minus sign here, all right, cosecant, let's say log x. So what happens? So that is minus cosecant whatever is inside into cot whatever is inside into d by dx of that thing. So basically you got to understand cosecant opens like cosecant cot. Inside is x, this xx is a log x, there's a log x and a log x, and that's it. And whatever it is inside should come here. All right, log x. See, get this straight, okay? You know this formula. Cosecant differentiation is cosecant cot, right? But if there's an x, there's an x and there's x. And extra thing is dx by dx, which is 1, which we don't write in this case. But in this case, if there's a log x, something else, okay, there's another function. So I write this function both the times here, and I write differentiation of that function. So what happens here? Minus cosecant log x into cot log x, right, into, how do you differentiate log x? That 1 by x, and that's your answer. All right, take another example and do this yourself. Okay, let's say y is equal to cosecant, let's talk about e power x this time. Okay, so it goes like minus cosecant e power x into cot e power x into d by dx of e power x, isn't it? Right? So what happens here? This remains the same, cosecant e power x and cot e power x into e power x itself. So now I can say that anything which comes here would come in this place and this place and this place. It can be e power x, it can be log x, it can be a power x, it can be sin x or tan x or whatever it is, correct? Let's say this guy was sin x. So what happens? It's got to be sin x. This guy will be sin x, correct? And this guy is again sin x. So what happens now? So this would become sin x, this would become sin x, and this would become cos x. So what you have to just know is to change this guy. If you're given with a chain, all right, using trigonometric functions and inside something else, this is a simple format you got to follow. Very easy it is. And this comes from where? This comes from your basic formulas. Here we use x, 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 and dx by dx is which we don't write. So this case we write that, okay, with a bracket, and I differentiate that. That's all about it. The last one here is cot x. Let's see how to work with that. All right, the last thing here to know is cot x. Let's say y is equal to cot x is what we need to know. How do you differentiate that? Dy by dx would be minus cosecant squared x into d by dx of x. Okay, we don't write this again. That is 1. That is cosecant squared x into 1. That is minus cosecant squared x. And we know this, right? There's an extra thing which I'm writing. Okay, based on this, what could be the more general formula? Y is equal to cosecant, or let's say cot of a function. So that goes like dy by dx would be minus cosecant squared of that function into differentiation of that function. Correct? Now, if I take y is equal to cosec or cot of, let's say, root x. Okay, who is inside this? Root x. So if root x comes here, it comes here and comes here. So what happens? That is dy by dx would be minus cosecant squared root x into d by dx of root x, and that's it. All right. So what's the next step? That is minus cosecant squared root x, which I don't touch because there's no differentiation here, and differentiation is 1 by 2 root of x, and that's what I have. Correct? Practice these problems. Let's say y is equal to cot of log x, or y is equal to cot of sine inverse of x. So anything comes inside. What is the general format? Whenever cot comes, it goes like minus cosecant squared that function into differentiation of that function. That's it. So who's the function now? That is secant, sine squared, sine inverse of x, and sine inverse of x. That's it. It goes like minus cosecant squared sine inverse of x. I don't have to touch this because there's no differentiation sign here, but here I can differentiate as 1 by root of 1 minus x squared. Okay, that's my answer. I hope you get this. This is the basics of the chain rule, where we could just solve trigonometry, all right, trigonometric functions, the basic 6 trigonometric functions and only one chain. As we go ahead, we'll see how we can build up multi-chains, maybe 3 functions, 4 functions at a time. Okay.